our informal mediation with the monitoring officer on the complaint, which led to the clerk's resignation. It's about the past is done and we can't undo it, and I want us to move forward as we should do when we try to work together for the good of the village by treating one another with courtesy and respect. And I shall do my utmost to ensure that happens, and I will interrupt people if I think they're being inappropriate from whichever and whatever source. The final thing I wish to say, and I'll say it now before we start properly, is that tomorrow is the election. I hope everybody votes. That is the last mention of the election at this meeting tonight, please, including the public. Okay? That is sub judice, in other words. Thank you. Are we now recording? Yeah. Right. To receive apologies for absence, as all 10 councillors are here. That's not a problem. To receive declarations of interest, everybody knows the score. If there is something on the agenda that you have a personal or pecuniary interest in, please declare it. And should something come up and you suddenly realise that you have got an interest in it, declare it then and we can deal with it. Item 3, to approve the minutes of the Parish Council meeting held on the 4th of June. You've all seen the minutes, and I check if anybody has got any comments on the minutes themselves. Nobody? No. In that case, could I have a proposer and a seconder? Councillor Howell proposed, Councillor Jones has seconded. All in favour, please? Thank you very much. Item 4, any matters arising from the previous meetings not on the agenda. The EV charging at Martins Road car park. Are we any further forward?
We're not.
No, I know you've been away.
Stuart is away till tomorrow,
Yeah.
and once he gets back I can go through with him where we are actually. I understand that there's been no progress at all with the people he was originally in touch with. So I'm afraid there is no progress on that stage.
I think I would like it left on the agenda for next
I think that's a good idea.
September's meeting. Thank you. The next one is the complaint about the state of the pavements in the village. Alas, our county councillor isn't here, who we were trying to chase on it. That said, we will continue to argue about it, and we will, I undertake to ensure that the letter goes up to the council, county council, again complaining about them, as we have done before. But I'm bound to say that even with support of district and county councillors, getting the pavement sorted is very difficult when there is such a problem with the potholes on the road. I know it's a separate thing, but in practice the money is currently going to the roads, I understand. Please.
Can I just refer to, there was a helpful article in the news referring with the QR code to Fix My Street. Could we just encourage perhaps in the next communication out to remind people of,
because that applies to the pavements
and everything, and cut that shrubbery and everything. Let's do a blitz on behalf of the village. In the absence of the county council doing anything, we can just do our own bombardment.
Is there something in the email newsletter, or if not,
let's put it in the newsletter as well.
put it in the email newsletter as well? Send it. I can send that on to DB.
Thank you. Look.
Yeah, Fix My Street was on the front page of the last news, so it was actually, there as a reminder to everybody in receipt of that. Not everybody looked at it.
I'm sorry, Councillor Webb.
Maybe it should be a standard item on the newsletter, the email newsletter that's sent out every week.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'll send it to Phoebe and get her to put it in the newsletter.
But as a standing item.
Regular one, yeah.
Excellent. The new bin at the Lichgate, Councillor Sheldon, in fact, that is now not going to happen. There's going to be no change to that, and we can, in fact, remove that from future minutes. you want to say anything, Mr. Lloyd?
Very briefly, please. We're sticking with the October one.
Yeah.
I'm very hopeful the second one annually will be in March.
Yeah.
Depends on availability of the people I've contacted.
Yeah.
But looking at October and March every year from now on.
Super. Thank you very much indeed.
Mr. Chair, just to go back
Oh, sorry.
to the bins at the Lich Gate, can you explain what's happened for that to just not happen?
There was a request about having changing the bin that's just at the edge of the lich or beside the lich gate. Having looked into it, we have I've been unable to ascertain categorically whether it's owned by the council or by the church. Both deny ownership. What I do know is that we cannot get the bin empty officially if we put a new bin in. The existing bin physically works, and we have an arrangement with Alan and Biffa, which I would prefer not to disturb if we possibly can, where he empties it and takes it somewhere and they remove.
Yeah, I passed the bin today and it actually doesn't look that bad at the moment.
Exactly. Item 5, to allow members of the public to make representation, answer questions, etc. Would any member of the public like to start off? Heidi, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delighted with what you said before the meeting started, because there's been a lot of raw emotion, hasn't there, on display during the meetings. And I have to say that Councillor Bartle's outburst last month, which we all witnessed.
Forgive me, is this relevant to the question of the council?
Well, I did want to say that I was looking forward to the new setup, clerk and manager, and the hope that transparency and general communication develop, so that within the next 2 years there will be a good opportunity to go for a full election rather than just for one place. So I like to think that what I'm trying to say is fully positive, that I'm delighted with what you said, and I hope that, looking forward, in 2 years' time, we'll be able to do a full election for the first time in 10 years. I don't think that's
as you
irrelevant.
know, we have had the opportunity, the fact that nobody in the village has taken up the opportunity sufficiently to cause an election at the proper time.
Mr. Chairman, that's absolutely my concern, and this is why I'm hoping that the profile will lift, and more people will get involved.
Please advertise it accordingly for 2027.
Let's hope so.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next person, please.
Yes. Sorry.
Sorry, forgive me. No, the lady in the back first.
Sorry, thank you.
Come back.
It was, so at the annual assembly, I and a couple of other people actually raised the issue with regards to the play park and its current condition.
Yes.
I believe, and I might be wrong, that in the last meeting that it was kind of put to one side for now. However, just wanted to ask Parish Council why they thought that was appropriate, given that I have some pictures if anyone wants to look, that the seesaw currently has a rusty screw sticking out of it, has no bench, that the yellow slide is partially rotten away on both sides, so if a child goes down holding the slide, they're going to rip their hands to pieces. So I just kind of wanted to see why it wasn't considered a priority at the time.
It is a matter that's going to come up, but it doesn't come under the parish council, oddly enough. It's BBT, so it's not for just now, if you don't mind. It will come up later on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know you said that you don't want any more about the election, but I actually don't know how much the election is costing.
Neither do I. It's as simple as that. We have direct answer. Forgive me. We have a direct answer from the Vale who organised the election. We have no choice in that. They gave us an estimate before, which is the figure that I quoted previously, that it was £9,000 off that order. We wrote to them specifically, the clerk did, and said, can you please give us a breakdown of the costs? And the answer came back, no. It came back and said, when the election is over and we've finished, we will tell you how much it costs. I was not happy about that response, but I'm bound to say we have not been able to do anything further to gain a better answer. I apologise, but I assure you we've tried. Well, it's in writing.
If it is indeed 9,000, that is really quite a portion of the precept, and I think that could well have been spent on other things. Obviously, you've made a decision now, and I just wanted to make that point.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other members? Mr. Boyd?
Please, back to pavements and highways.
Yep.
I've been in touch with highways, been in touch with Emma, our county councillor, who come up very positively, saying that there is the statutory annual review of payments, etc. in July. Emma's been in touch with that county councillor and has walked a bit of the course with him. And her final words are, and so many of these issues might be addressed very soon. Might. So, you know, the right people are on the right track.
I do hope so, but I mean, when I walked the pavement with the lady from OCC earlier in the year, the answer I got when I said, look, this is appalling, we've got children going to school like this, said, not bad enough yet.
Any further issues that meet our criteria, County Council will be scheduled for repair and meet their criteria. On the roads, very pleased to see there's been a bit of patchwork on the highway road outside the hall. Makes it a little different, better. There's also been a bit of white lining and patching in other areas of the village. However, there are still some rings, potholes, some 2 months old, notably outside the Martins Road, Highworth Road junction, which are still there 2 months later. Why can't they do it all at the same time? Have a bit of coordination. It's the same old story. Now say something on the allotments. Please, Nathan. Nothing you can do about it, really, because it's done in silent hours. There's an increase in dog purring. There's an increase in theft, minor, but it affects the individual, which is quite major. And yesterday, a plotter walked down the main drag, the official main drag, to find 6 cats on 3 tanks full on. How long they've been dribbling around, I do not know. Such is the change in the village.
So I don't think it's been for that long, John, because I keep an eye on them in as much as I can, and definitely I've not seen them. You know, I've never seen one left open, so hopefully it wasn't too long.
But it doesn't matter that 5 minutes or 5 hours. That was done. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other members?
Sorry, just really quickly on pavements again. I've probably fixed my street. There was actually an area on Sand Hill that has been fully repatched that was particularly bad, and that's happened in maybe the last week. So something.
Something does happen. No, thank you.
Sorry, can I just say, with this business of dog poo, I would mention that foxes are around this village all the time, and not all that poo is dog poo, I can assure you. There's a lot of fox poo about. So I think leave the dog walkers alone, please.
I didn't mention dog walkers.
Well,
I mentioned
it
dog
needs to
food.
make sure but I think you should know there's lots and lots of foxes.
I know the difference between dog poo and fox poo.
Well, I hope you do.
Yeah.
Well, I
think
trust you. I do. I hope substantiated.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Sorry, just I thought it
Thank
was
you. Anybody else
because the
wishes to speak before we move on? Thank you. Right. We'll take that into account. Right. We don't have a county council's report, and I regret to say we don't have a district council's report, nor do we have their presence, sadly. So, moving on to item 8, Chairman's announcements, and I have no further things to bother you with, so we'll move on again. Item 9. Proposal to review the date of the November Parish Council meeting. It has come to my attention that you pick the first Wednesday in November, you pick the 5th of November. It so happens that this year, unusually, certainly the Defence Academy fireworks and bonfire are on the 5th of November. They always hold it on the Thursday, but this year they picked the Wednesday. It is therefore my proposal to the Council, if you agree, to change the date from Wednesday the 5th of November to Tuesday the 4th of November. Could I seek your views?
I think, Mr. Chair, I may well be overseas, but I wouldn't have any objection, and if I'm here, I will attend.
Anyone else? If I propose it, can I have somebody to second it? Councillor Brown. Those in favour? Thank you. Appointment to the member responsible for public transport. At the moment, I have not yet found a willing volunteer, but I'm a bit more hopeful that by the time of the next meeting, there will actually be a name to put forward. Unless somebody the assembled people is keen to be our public transport representative, it doesn't need to be a councillor. If you know of anybody, do let me know. Thank you. Appointment of the member with responsibility for emergency planning. If there is a volunteer, I would like to hear it. Otherwise, I will, alas. Is that Councillor Ware?
I'm happy to take that responsibility on.
I'm happy to allow you to.
And I'm happy to second it.
I take it up as being approval from everybody.
Yes. What, you do transport as well, Elaine?
No.
I will pass on to you the emergency planning template that I was provided by the Vale, I think it is. Yes. Or it might be OCC, whichever. Thank you. The next one, item 12. Sorry, financial matters. To receive the financial reports for May. Over the SPC. You've all seen them. I didn't see anything startling me, requiring consideration. Anybody got anything they wanted to add? Very much standard. Could I have a proposal for the main ones? Councillor Brown, seconded Councillor Pearson. Those in favour?
Abstain.
Councillor abstain. To receive a list of I'm going to sign it, yes. I'll do them with a block in a minute if I may. To receive the list of payments made in June, and again, receive payments the same time as usual, there's nothing particularly starting there. Anybody got anything to add? In which case, could I have a proposal for that? Councillor Bartle, the seconder. Councillor Brown. All those in favour, please. One abstention.
Thank you.
And finally, that to approve expenditure which is either unplanned or unbudgeted. So far as I know, no one has notified me of anything, in which case we will move on.
Just a question there, Mr. Chair.
Sorry?
Just a question on the unplanned expenditures or unbudgeted expenditures. Has the Organisation and Finance Committee looked at the reserves and covering costs for the election? Sorry, the E word. Or is that something that will happen only once we know the total cost?
We will not be looking at any of it until we find out what the cost is. The essence of it is that we have a small sum of money, I think it's £400 annually in the budget towards elections. We have 2,000 in earmarked reserves, and we will have to find whatever else it is, hopefully not as much as 9,000 when it comes up. 2,900, sorry, forgive my inaccuracy.
Oh, that's the 2.5 plus the 4, isn't it?
Item 14, to receive such communications the person presiding may wish to lay before the town. Sorry, item 13, forgive me. To receive and consider reports and minutes of committees and working groups. There is one that I wish to draw your attention to. That is that the Personnel Committee met recently and has a recommendation for the replacement of the clerk. So I wish to bring a proposal to you at this point from the Personnel Committee to recommend that Lisa Whitney be appointed as the clerk and secretary to the trust with effect from the 2nd of September 25. She has been working for Farringdon Town Council in a committee post with the deputy clerk. She has qualified over the last 3 years fully with the SILCA qualification, as it's called, CILCA, which is the key qualification for a parish clerk, or for a clerk generally. We went through a full recruiting process. She passed through 2 interviews. She has also been in to meet the staff and has met our requirements, which is why the Personnel Committee is recommending her to the Council. Would anybody like to say anything further or ask anything?
What was the surname? Was it Whitney? Whitley?
Yes.
Whitney.
W-H-I-T-L-E-Y. You caught me out 1 second and I'll tell you definitively that I have, of course, got the answer. I just can't remember.
Well, I looked that up just a bit extra on the process. So we obviously reviewed all of the applications that we had. We went through a very thorough shortlisting process to look at skills and experiences based on the role, obviously with council, local council experience and the SILCA qualification being 2 things that scored very highly. She was in fact the only applicant that had the SILCA and one of a few with council experience, which is why she came up so high on the list. We then obviously interviewed and did a following very thorough shortlisting process following the interviews as well, scoring against responses to the questions that we asked to identify strongest candidates.
On that basis, I wish to propose it. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Brown. Those in favour, please. Thank you. This slight pause, forgive me while I sign the things from the form.
So did we establish, Mr. Chair, Whitley or Whitney?
Yes,
Forgive me, sorry.
Did we establish, Chair, was it Whitley or
It's
Whitney?
It is, I'm looking at it, it's Whitney, spelled W-H-I-T-N-E-Y.
Lovely.
And Lisa is spelled, I think it's pronounced Lisa, but it's spelled L-I-Z-A.
She's a Lisa, thank you.
But I'm sure it's not Liz, it's Lisa. Whitney. And there's one more to do. Sorry, pause when I sign the forms. Thank you very much. Item 14. To receive such communication as the person presiding may wish to lay before the council, and this is a thing called Part Night Lighting Consultation, which closes on the 6th of July. It is from OCC. The idea that they're proposing is that at a suitable hour of the night, and I'm trying to remember when it was, they shut off the street lights to produce a darker sky. Okay. It has implications, obviously, for people moving around late at night. Therefore, they're consulting on it. I'm interested in anyone's views on the matter. Councillor Ware.
I have actually taken the survey as a resident of the village, and one thing that came over to me was actually the timings. So in rural areas we're talking about 11:30 at night until 5:30 in the morning. For urban areas it's from midnight to 5:30. And that's really all I gained out of the survey. It's very early days as far as LCC are concerned, and I think they just want that as a starter for their cabinet to consider.
Do they provide any data, I'm assuming not from what you said, but I'm going to ask anyway, like stats into where this has been done before, the uptake in Ireland?
They've mentioned it, that it's happening in other places, but this is new for OCC.
Do we have a link for the consultation that's been sent round? I can't remember seeing.
I think it's on the
Yeah,
email.
it's sent on email.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Anybody else wish to contribute to council?
Could we perhaps put that onto the Facebook page, because I'm not sure what the reach of the weekly email is and whether it's reaching everybody. Are there other means that we could involve people in consultation?
We haven't got to the consultations situation yet. No. The consultation is very low key, as I mentioned, and it's really aimed at the hours. But full consultation will be made after the Cabinet and OCC have considered this in September sometime. Then it will come back for consideration by town and parish councils.
Don't we need some kind of feedback now, though? I mean, how are they going to make their decision just on what they think rather than what everyone else thinks?
An OCC consultation will be reliant on people responding.
Just to clarify, Richard, I think this is just the first baby step of just putting something about the areas. We'll have chance to do the full feedback mechanism probably in September, because I mean it's July, it's getting quiet, school holidays are upon us. So I think the main future in September, which Councillor Winfield's point about communication on the Facebook page is probably the time to trick it all then.
It was discussed some years ago in this village, and there was a suggestion that we might do it. There wasn't an awful lot of popularity in the village.
For clarity, they do sort of identify exceptional areas such as schools and high streets and this sort of thing, that they would be exempt from any switch-offs.
So it's really the residential areas now, okay?
Yeah.
So are we talking about reduction of light pollution, or are we talking about saving money?
I think the latter.
Oh, really?
I think they talked about something like 400,000 per annum. Bearing in mind that most of our street lighting is LED anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do. It's a huge difference.
I mean, by the sound of it, it's not something that we need to particularly pursue as council at this point, is that correct?
That's how I feel.
And we've all had the email, so
Yeah,
we can individually respond.
and if anybody wants to do it as do the survey before
The 6th of July.
Thank you, because I haven't seen that, and I will follow through.
You can pick it up from the email that attached all the papers this evening.
Oh, really? Great, thank you.
Okay, I think we can move on. To receive reports from councillors attending personal meetings on behalf of the council, and the only one I'm aware of is the ARP.
A poster has been prepared by my colleague here for the fancy dress competition at the village fete in August. And this poster will be translated and circulated to all Afghan families with a view to encouraging the children to take part. I mentioned last month that the football club were arranging kick-it-out sessions on the main pitch on 3 Friday evenings. Unfortunately, the first session failed to attract any children. As I understand it, my contacts at Mears, who I deal with, have explained in great detail to the families, if there's interest shown, you must follow it through. I did speak to one of the interpreters yesterday, and he said he would be talking to the families anyway, along the same lines. We have, and I think I mentioned last month as well, that we're trying to set up a bicycle maintenance course. And that is progressing well. We're just waiting for confirmation on the venue, which is likely to be St Albans Church Hall. I'm working with the Mears team to arrange a friendly cricket game, and that's in hand as we speak today. And we're also seeking ideas for other events for the children during the school holidays. So if anybody's got any bright ideas, I welcome them, please. And just for information, the number of new families arriving in the area has reduced significantly over the past few weeks, and the reduction is expected to continue to at least November. However, this is a moving target, and I will keep council informed of any change. Any questions?
I have a suggestion, although it's potentially a little bit late, just thinking about kind of very British things that maybe we could introduce into, and obviously Wimbledon has just started. But I don't know if you could get in touch with the tennis people to see if they could do a bit of a... Is there a tennis... Oh.
The tennis people are here.
The tennis people are here. Maybe something that it could be a group thing.
Yeah. I don't know what the take-up would be, and I'm not sure whether the tennis would be an attractive sport to them, but I can ask.
It's cricket they play.
Cricket.
Yeah, and that may have been a conflict on the day that the football had been arranged, because cricket do training. Yes, cricket do training sessions on Friday. So there you go. Thank you.
How do we know that they won't like tennis if they don't do
I will ask them. And then if they do, I'll be in touch with the tennis coach.
They have been in touch,
Right.
and I have nothing more. Somebody contacted me ages ago asking me to do something for a group of girls.
Yeah.
And I had nothing. I said yes, and I had nothing since.
Okay.
Thank you.
So they have been in touch.
And I think
Thanks, Chris.
I think they finished their cricket training with the young children this week. I think it's the last week on a Friday evening. Finished cricket training.
Well, thank you very much, Councillor Word, for all that you're doing on that, and I hope to hear more success in the future. On to 16 planning matters. Councillor Jones.
No.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Bond.
Yeah, thank you. There are only two new applications. One is Trajan Road, which is the erection of a UPVC glazed conservatory, and it is not required to have planning permission. We're not asked for a response. The other one is 15 Fairthorne Way, a detached garage. Having spoken to the rest of the planning committee, where we feel that there's nothing here that we could find to oppose it, and we should therefore propose to you that we just pass this without any comment. Well, there's also one at Colton Road, which we've talked about, and it may need to be done before the next meeting. Again, having looked at it and discussed it, there doesn't seem to be anything that we would find objectionable, and therefore we suggest that it's carried.
Yes, I mean, the most notable thing that I spotted was the fact that they're not building above the existing roof line, and indeed they're removing the chimney, so it actually have a slightly reduced profile. So as far as I can see, there's no reason why we would object in any way.
There are a number of applications which we've had from previously, some of which have been granted, like 6 Hicks Close and 23 Lawrence Avenue and 8 Forest, is it 8? Can I see that? 5 Forest Close. The rest of them are all waiting for decisions to be made at the Vale, and that includes land to the west of Norfolk Close, to gain access, new access to the golf course, which would be a disaster if they did it. And then the others are the smelting yard on Station Road, and the 2 applications for work on the Church of England Primary School replacement now, and they're doing work on that now, both waiting for determination.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barton. Right, item 17, proposal the council resolves to have in place the means by which to record and live stream all council and committee meetings commencing from September. So before I invite Councillor Winfield to propose it, I would like to read out, in addition to the 3 background papers you all received prior to this, with the papers this month, is I'm going to read out our standing order 3 Lima, 3L, okay, and I'm going to add at the end of it, I'll explain the legal requirement to put in an extra sentence following discussions with the monitoring officer. So, subject to standing order 3M, which has got minor things, a person who attends a meeting is permitted to report on the meeting whilst the meeting is open to the public. To report means to film, photograph, make an audio recording of meeting proceedings, use any other means for enabling persons not present to see or hear the meeting as it takes place, or later, or to report or to provide oral or written commentary about the meeting, so that the report or commentary is available as the meeting takes place or later to persons not present. And what the monitoring officer is asked to add is the sentence at the end that says, a person may inform the meeting about recording as a courtesy, but it is not a legal requirement. That is a legal addition in effect to our standing orders, not a matter for discussion in the council. It will be republished as part of our standing order because we've got to meet law. So at that point, having said that, that's what our standing orders have said and are now going to say. Councillor Winfield.
Right, thank you. I think the wording of the motion pretty much does what it says on the tin. Now that I think that we're all in equal position of understanding of the legislation, our own governance, and the NALP recommendations on this topic, I would like for us to make the investment, certainly over the summer, make the investigations to actually facilitate the recording and streaming by the council, of the council. I am again recording this evening, and I'm very pleased that I didn't have the same sort of reception that I have had at earlier meetings. So I'm putting it towards the council then. Do we have a appetite to provision these pieces of equipment and to live stream our own meetings?
Councillor Brennan.
Yeah, so what do you anticipate the cost? I'm assuming you've got an idea of the cost of some of the equipment, because I can see some fancy stuff that you've got there with mic and everything. So what are you proposing the cost of equipment that we would need to purchase to be able to facilitate this?
Well, my own setup here, such that it is, all came from Amazon. I actually have some spare equipment also. When I was deciding how and what I wanted to do, I'm quite happy to actually donate that equipment to the council. Minimum costs that it's been that I've incurred, I would say less than £40 in total. That obviously doesn't include my phone, which is there. But other than that key piece of equipment, the actual sort of setup will have no cost to the council. So it would just be the actual phone or iPad or whatever. And I think the council probably has such equipment within its own. You don't have council phones or iPads or anything like that. So the cost would be then for a basic phone that can connect to the internet.
Could not one of the tablets do this?
Yeah, tablets.
Yeah, we've got tablets which should be capable of doing this.
Thank you. That answers my question. If I can, while it's on me anyway, if I can share my opinion on this. Obviously, it's a legal thing. Like you said, we do now all understand the legal requirements whereby this is a public meeting and we can't stop the recording or live streaming of it. In my opinion, therefore, I feel it's a good idea for the council to have that control, to set it up and live stream it, be in control of that, be in control of the retention policies of such recordings. It would therefore initiate us to set up a policy on such things so that we can ensure that we're all following the right structure and being compliant, and it can be more controlled, not restrictive, but you know, we would have more control over the process, access to recordings and all of that kind of thing. I do think setting it up in September would potentially be a little ambitious, such as if we did go ahead, I would consider that we would need a policy in place before we took control of recording it, and we would need to sign in that policy, and therefore the earliest we would be able to take control of it would be October, because we need September to sign off the policy. We would also look at other things on where we post it. Did you have an idea of where it would be live streamed? I think, do you use Facebook?
I use Facebook live stream, but then I download it to YouTube.
Yeah, so I did a little research, and it does seem like YouTube is what's the word? Stable platform for it to be done on, but obviously there would need to be actions and syncing up, setting up an account and all those kind of things. So, for my opinion, I support it. However, I think the time frame would just need to be reviewed to make sure that we've got everything in line before we're ready to kind of commit. Might be also, I know your proposal is for all council meetings that are public, obviously, and I wonder if maybe it would be for the first few months just this council meeting, and the committee meetings then follow a few months later once we've set up the cadence of how we're doing it and everything.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you've said there, and I'm happy to recognise that by September, it's basically just a few days away now once you take out everybody's holidays and the summer recess. I am quite happy to continue as I have been with my own recordings until such time as the council is confident that it is in a position to take over that as a corporate entity.
Councillor Ware.
Councillor Brown has taken words out of my mouth. Virtually,
I was reading over your shoulder.
Yeah, she's been reading my notes. No, seriously, I don't disagree at all with the proposal, other than the timing and obviously we're short of staff at the moment. We don't do anything in August, or very little. September will be very difficult. So what I was going to say was, and suggest that more time be given to carry out any necessary investigative work in order to set up the system properly and let it be launched when fully operational.
Can I just ask, this is just a question that I don't understand. I do understand what we're doing, that's fine. But when it goes on YouTube, how long does it keep on YouTube? Can things on YouTube stay forever?
Yeah, so that's a decision that we can make, and that's part of what I was saying about the retention, because we would own those recordings, we could determine that. If you do nothing about it, they stay there forever. You can archive them, so people can't find them, but if they've got the link, they can watch them. Or you can delete them, in which case they've gone forever, unless people have downloaded them. But that would be part of what I would suggest as the pre-work we do, is setting that retention period of how long we want them on there.
Thank you.
Can I just interject there? There's something that I haven't said about YouTube or Facebook or however you do it. I think it's vitally important that it is open to the public. There have been instances where parish councils have insisted that people ask to be invited, and it has been shown that that is an obstruction. So
my assumption was it was open and people could search and find it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyone else wish to discuss anything? Would you like to frame the proposal that we agreed to the preparations to do it at this stage?
Absolutely.
I don't think that's
So my
That's a rather more appropriate.
So my motion
proposal, I
then
think.
is a proposal that the council pursues equipping and preparing.
To do it.
Yes, so equipping and preparing administratively to take on the public streaming of meetings.
Is that? Are you proposing?
I am proposing
I will
that.
second that.
And no time scale.
As well, the time scale I think is less relevant on
Yes,
the basis on the basis that the longer it takes for us to get it in place, the longer I'll be doing it independently. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. Propose second.
Yeah, second.
Could I have everybody's opinion vote, please? Those in favour? Those against? So that's passed. Thank you. Item 18, receive an update on community activities. Councillor Watson.
Well, we had a very successful concert in aid of the centenary of the hall, in the hall from the school. All the school gathered, and it was a really joyous affair, singing songs which came from 1925 and from the First World War era. So that's been very successful. There's also been Rain or Shine in the hall, which was also reasonably successful, I think. Reasonably successful. Coming up is a play we are putting on. The hall is the Viscountess Barrington Trust is sponsoring a play by about Alfred Williams, who is the one of the he is a very prominent poet who came from that sort of time, and he will be it will be comparing what it was like in Shrivenham in 1925 and in the present day. So in addition to that, there will be song and music and celebration. So that's going to be on the 3rd of October. While I was talking about the children's concert, I have had discussions with through Julia with the school, and they have been left in a predicament because the contractor of the school actually went bust. They left them in a state of unfinished playground. The year sixes have got together and they are raising money to provide play equipment for the school, for the playground. At the moment, the target in the long term is something which is, I suspect, quite ambitious, and it's around about 20 grand to actually to provide the equipment they need. But in the short term, they are looking to raise around about £3,000 to just get the whole enterprise starting. I think at the moment they've got something in the region of £1,800 pounds towards that total, and I'm going to put forward a proposal that the parish council supplements that. I don't mean making up the rest of it, but supplements the rest of it with a grant from the grants fund in order to help the kiddies out. That's my proposal. At the moment, I'm not entirely sure what's in our grants fund, but
I believe we haven't spent any money of the grants fund, but I need to. I look to my left for
Point of order,
guidance.
Mr Chair. Is this a proposal, is this a formal proposal motion that's being put before us here because it's not on the agenda?
No, it's not. No, it's not on the agenda. And if you, I have been only made aware of it recently, Claire. I could easily bring it to the next meeting. And then I'll maybe be able to give you a bit more detail.
Yeah, I think
The
broadly.
the budget for grants is £400. What I don't know is I don't think it's meant to. No. So there's £400 available within our budget.
So finally, in March, there is last March we had, the whole of Saturday was given over to Let's Dance. And it was very successful. We had about 300 people in the hall dancing, and that's going to be repeated again on the 8th of March next year. So watch this space. So that's the community activities.
So it's you again, if you want for update on climate emergency.
Well, normally with climate emergency, I talk about sustainable Shrivenham and the hub. Sadly, of course, we know that the bank building is being sold. I'm not entirely sure where we are. Do you know?
I don't know. I think they've probably got some idea who might have bought it, but I'm not sure.
At the moment,
they're not sure.
we know where they're going to go, which is going to be
that's the problem. They've asked for the chapel. They're going to perhaps open up the Methodist chapel on a Saturday morning when they want to do their repair shop, because it's on the high street, and they're negotiating with the Methodist church about that, which is something. But at the moment, they don't know what they're going to do. Rather sad, really.
I haven't got anything more to say on climate emergency, although had Councillor Foxhall been here, I would have asked her to give me some feedback on the Vale Climate Emergency Committee, which I believe meets on an occasional basis, and I haven't had any feedback since it was started. So she's not here, so I can't ask her, I'm afraid.
Thank you. Moving on then to item 20, to receive an update of the park in the High Street project. Councillor Powell.
So several updates as discussed last month in the meeting. So I've been in dialogue with the County Council officer. The situation on Manor Lane and Fairfawn Way and the pictures, etc., all been forwarded. John, I've made that clear about the pictures you sent me. So that is going into the review that they're going through. Specifically, I said I would get an update of what is happening and how much enforcement has happened. So I've got lots of various statistics. I'll summarise it into layman's terms. Over 2 months, 14 tickets have been issued. 9 people, what they call drive-aways. So before they could put this ticket on the screen, they got in the car and ran away. And about 542 vehicle registrations have been logged and checked over a 2-month period. So enforcement has been happening. They are ramping it up. So there will be more visits and more enforcement over the coming months. I also said I would get updates around the timing of the review, and they actually have already started. So they've done a before and after survey of the whole of the surrounding area to the high street, and the summary of the results, because there's a big spreadsheet, etc. Over the 2 visits before and after, there were 20 additional spaces observed in the high street afterwards compared to before, which is about 20%. That's offset by an increase of 5 parking in the Martins Road car park, additional 5 parking in Manor Lane, additional 3 parking in Fairthorn Way, and interestingly, -2 in Sainsbury Lane. No, obviously this is only at a point in time, and they will be doing other surveys to gather the data under which they'll make decisions. But I thought it was interesting to share that the review that they are doing. They are aiming to conclude the review at the end of July, early August, depending on workloads. So I'll try and provide another update. They may come back with a proposal. I doubt it will be for the September meeting because it's at the start of the month. But that's all the updates on the parking. As additional aside, some residents have contacted me about one-stop deliveries and the ongoing situation that's causing disruption. Now, there was previously the county councillor and the district councillor are engaged on this topic and looking into it. There was apparently an agreement that there would be no deliveries before 7 AM. That appears to not being adhered to. But also concern is the volume of deliveries all through the day, and I witnessed it myself in terms of a delivery during school run time, and effectively Stainsbury Lane was blocked, and there were kids having to go around this lorry, etc. So it's an ongoing discussion. It is suggested that if need be, the police are involved because it's a highways matter and a police matter. So it's an ongoing matter. I'll keep the council informed of that. And if you have any other feedback, etc., then do please send it through.
Yeah, 2 things. Picking up on the deliveries to the one stop. On a couple of occasions, I've actually seen the delivery lorry parked on the zigzags at the crossing. So, and I've actually took a couple of photographs of that because that's what I'm like. And the other thing on the parking scheme, with the review being undertaken, is there any potential that Manor Lane in particular could actually be encompassed in the limited time and therefore resident parking permit area? It is particularly difficult along there because people have no off-road parking. The same is true on Clay Pits on the other side of St Andrews. Whether there is any possibility for those residents to buy into the scheme and to have those parking spaces at the front of their homes protected?
I think the Manor Lane is already part of the discussion because of residents' direct feedback. If you want to send me a note on Clay Pits, I can make it part of the feedback.
Thank you.
I believe that's all. Just a note that there's been a very small number of any adverse comments, but anything I do get, and if there's any more feedback, do send it through and I'll keep feeding it through to the process.
Do residents actually have a permit that they hang up on the car or on the dashboard?
No, they're registered, so that when the warden comes around, he knows they've got permitted parking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for that, but you're on again.
I'm on again. Website. So, if I go back a couple of months, I think it may have been April, was the last discussion we had where the main feedback was we wanted to not reduce the scope of the current website and keep it a community engaged, not just have the parish council stuff, but keep it a whole community website. We then suspended it because of staffing and to coordinate when we got a new clerk and a new staffing arrangements. We'll then have a serious discussion about adopting the .gov domain and refreshing it, and there's a whole lot of work to do with that. And it's best to do that with a clean slate when we've got the new staff to take it forward. So it's in transition, and as such, because it's sort of stalled, I'm happy to step aside and let others take this forward in September. happy for somebody else to step forward and take it, or happy to carry on. But I think that's a September discussion once we've got the infrastructure in place to know, take it forward. I think we've got 2 years to do it, which is plenty of time, but it's just getting it transformed into the new technical environment on the gov.uk site.
If I could just add to what you're saying, I think if there is a possibility that we could look at bringing in a volunteer with the relevant sort of skills and knowledge to assist us with that process. You know, I think it's such a fast-moving, technical kind of thing that many of us around the table probably can just about turn on an iPhone. But you know, the thought of building a website and all of those things, we may have some resource within the community who would be happy to volunteer their time.
The only care required is it has to be under the authority and ownership of the parish council as a body. I say that from history because people come and go, but the corporate body stays for a long time, so we need to work out a mechanism how that would happen.
Yeah, rather than, I'm not suggesting sort of somebody who long-term runs the website, but you know, somebody who just gets it where we need it to be, and then for it to, you know, be passed into the hands of.
One thing that has only just come to my mind, so I'm sorry if you've already considered this or not, with it changing to a .gov website, is there any issues with us also using that website to publish VBT stuff? Because the VBT stuff is not gov, it's charity.
Yeah, that's part of the process.
That's part of the consideration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a very good point. Thank you, to give an update, excuse me, on the community transport project. I haven't got a very good update, I'm afraid, but the most recent report I've had is that the vehicle is still being used effectively, and as ever, the amount of use it gets is governed principally by the availability of drivers. And so if there are more volunteer drivers, that would be a good thing.
Yeah, I've spoken passing to one of the drivers as I came past the hall a couple of days ago, and he said they're averaging around 250 journeys a month, and it's an incredible service, and it's much appreciated. A taxi fare to and from the Great Western Hospital from any of the villages in the area can be up to £50, £45 being the average. People are actually just paying £5 for a one-way journey, £5 each way. So it's an incredible and very successful service.
I was charged £20 to come back from the hospital the other night.
Mr. Chairman, can I tell you that we're having one of our regular meetings next week?
Yeah. Thank you.
We meet about every 6 weeks on average.
Thank you. Excellent. Receive an update on school liaison, Councillor Jones, if there's anything less for you after.
Okay. As liaison councillor, I often try and go. I also volunteer at the school, but I do try and attend their events. And as Bjorn said, the school concert on the 25th of June was wonderful. It was a pity more people couldn't see it, but we had 250 odd children in the hall, and we couldn't have any. You know, had a few guests, but we couldn't have many. But it was a lovely. It was so sad that that it's only just seen that once. It was really very, very good, beautiful singing. And also they've been very busy. They had sports day today, which been there. And another thing we did this prayer space this week on Monday and Tuesday, and the school came down, and they have the younger ones on Monday and the older years on Tuesday, and they went to different activities in the church. And I must say, and I did tell the head today, those children were so beautifully behaved. They were lovely. They came in, they respected where they were, they looked at the events, and they tried, they were really delightful. They're very nice, the children there, indeed. The other thing, which isn't this, on the people have been asking, on the 14th of July, they're going to have an open day at the SEND school. from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. They're going to ask me to do some advertising publicity for them. I'm still waiting for it. I'll perhaps pop in tomorrow and ask them. So that will be, I should think that will be people will be very interested in that. To go and have a look round, it's lovely what they've done.
Forgive me, I didn't quite catch the time.
It's a SEND school on the 14th of July, which is a Monday, from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
Thank you.
That would be great.
Thank you very much. Moving on, to receive an update on Community Speedwatch Council Pearson. Thank you for the report.
Okay, so most of you will have read the report, I hope. It's been a quiet month. We were at the start of the month in June. There was quite a lot of wet weather, and we couldn't get out. You wouldn't believe that now. And quite a lot of people have been away, such as myself, on holiday, very selfish. And also we've got 2 or 3 long-term sick within the group. So it's been quite difficult to put 3 people together, which is the minimum TVP requirement. So we've found it difficult to get people together. We've done 5 sessions in the month, which is less than half of what we normally do. In that, we've reported 105 vehicles. Maximum speed noted was 38 miles per hour in a 20-mile-an-hour zone. So, quiet figures, generally we're more in the region of 300 in the month. Probably also quieter because we're going into holiday season and there's less traffic about anyway. We've done 1 session up towards the school on Highworth Road. Unfortunately, people walk past and say, "Oh, you get hundreds along it." And we don't. We just don't. It's a narrow road and it looks as if vehicles are going faster than they are. So we keep trying to get a mix anyway. And there is a National Speedwatch Day on the 11th of this month, which I think is Thursday next week. And we're being asked to get as many sessions done as we can. We know we can get 3 done in the day. We might even get 4. But,
so you're warning us in advance then?
yes, but we're not telling you where it'll be. Generally, the average punter around here has a concentration of a goldfish, and they forget about it very quickly.
It's Friday.
I think 11th is a Friday.
Friday, yeah.
Is it? Okay, well, it's a Friday then.
It is Friday.
It's definitely on the 11th. Anyway.
Yeah.
I think 38 miles an hour, obviously it's terrible because it's almost twice. But under 40, I think this is the first month in a long time we've had under 40 recorded in the 20 mile an hour. Might just be a blip, it might just be because the
But it could
be the sign that people are starting to finally slow down.
There are areas within the village which have really positively decreased. We used to stand in front of the Methodist Church and we'd get 50 or 60 within the hour when the speed limit was 30. The speed limit's come down to 20, and if we get there, partly because there's so much traffic there, when there's a lot of traffic, it actually slows the thing down. Some idiot put something on in the media about why aren't we there when the A420 is closed. Well, one thing, nobody tells us when the A420 is going to be closed. And the other thing is, last time we were there, when the A420 was closed, we had 520 vehicles go through the village in an hour.
10 miles an hour.
Nobody was speeding.
Not a lot, because they were all slowing each other down.
Yeah. But I think you always say, Gerard, that the goal isn't to catch people. The goal is to change the behaviours, and it's clearly working in that manner.
Well, Let's wait till
that
we've
is
got a
true.
trend. 1 month.
My son said to me the other day, why do you put your yellow top on when you're walking up the village? Because people know you're going to do it. And it's because I want them to think about it.
Yeah.
I don't really care whether we catch them or not. We would prefer to catch nobody.
Thank you very much. Please thank you, Steve, once again. To receive an update on S106 SIL funding proposal for piece of art for recreation grant, Councillor Jones.
We have received the money for the sculpture, Shrivenham sculpture. If you remember, it was discussed quite a long time ago. It was in September last year, and there was a proposal for a piece of art which I've circulated again to all the councillors on the recreation ground, and the concept was approved. It was proposed by Councillor Coffey and seconded by Councillor Winfield, and now we've got the money, and we've got the man who gave the proposal. Bjorn and myself will sit down, and we'll come back to you, of course, before we do anything, but we'll look at what we're going to have done. We're thinking of some sort of wooden sculpture where that bull chute is. You know, take the bull chute down and put something better there, but we'll keep you updated on that.
Thank you for that. To receive an update on the allotments, Councillor Woodhouse.
Last week with young Chelsea, we walked around the allotments and did our annual inspection. So a few people had naughty emails and wanted to add letters. Overall, the condition of allotments I thought was much improved, certainly on the year before. I'm going to go again next week, the 12th of July, just to have a further check-up with 1 or 2 people who did have letters. There are currently 2 pitches available, which I've offered to the person again on the top of the waiting list. We've got some took a plot yesterday, which will be seeing you tomorrow, I presume. Other than that, the mound, which you got sorted, Bob, I've still got to clear, or finishing clearing it, and then we'll measure it up and get it set up as another plot.
Looking a lot better this afternoon.
Yeah. Is it? Well done you then. But overall, I think the allotments aren't in bad condition. Obviously, I met up with John, we had a walk around. He's given me a list, and hopefully we can start working through some of it. So, regarding the water tank, I know you've got a quote, and we've applied for 2 quotes, so hopefully that's something else we can get solved in short order. Yeah, so thank you for that.
We've not heard about the grant, though. No.
How's the mound gone?
Yes.
It looks really good. I think well done.
Nathan, how long is the waiting list?
There's 6 people currently on the waiting list. I have offered, I'm meeting a lady the weekend to show around the remaining 2 plots, and then go down the list. So, that's that.
Thank you. Very much. To receive a report on environmental matters, Councillor Watson, please.
Tuck Mill Meadows. Can report that the fence has finally been completed, which is quite something, because it's only 5 years, is it, Ken? I don't know. Anyway,
3.5.
Is it 3.5? It maybe it's, yeah, depends on where you started, but there you go. The boardwalk is badly in need of a complete replacement. Actually, it's probably falling apart. There is more to do in Tuck Mill, but at least they've made a significant start. I believe that the cattle might not be far away. And we may
being put in.
We may get cattle in there. Yes, Ken. I was good. Yeah, go on.
On cattle, believe it or not. So we've got to have a licence, which the old licence had elapsed because it was over 30 years old.
I know.
So we've had to renew that, and you need another licence to have a licence, and another licence. So you need 3 licences. So we're in the process of Earth Trust applying for the other 2 licences. And believe it or not, there is a licence actually titled
Yeah, so the plan to get them in, ideally, sort of towards the end of August, beginning of September, was the goal.
Yeah.
It might be a bit later, but having said that, the fence we were told would be in 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely not holding my breath. The cattle will arrive when they arrive.
Can you give us a report on the canal group? No?
But the only thing, again, coming back, we've had an episode of fighting. I mean, it might seem petty, but a child's slide has been dumped by the bins, and expecting either Alan, who won't collect it because he can't collect it in his van, but yeah, it was just, so yeah.
Is it still there?
It's still there.
I'll go get it tomorrow.
I've got photos again. Well, my main issue was somebody on net. I've asked our media chap to post something to say, look, you know, don't dump it here.
Yeah.
We're a charity. We've got a zip.
Exactly.
And we're going to end up having to get rid of it.
Sure.
It did go up on social media yesterday, so I saw it pop up. And I tried to, I actually gave away a similar slide to someone in the village not that long ago, so I had to look to see who I sold it to if I could find it, or give it to, but couldn't find it. I'll go take it to the church tomorrow.
Can I just ask, is that the special cattle, the little brown that run to Robert?
Sorry?
Are they special cattle? What kind of cattle?
Yeah.
Dexter.
Dexter's. Yeah, again, I met with Michael East today regarding the infamous Tutnell Brook.
No progress on that.
If anything, reversed. He's told us that he doesn't want the public to access the crossing.
So it's the crossing is a bridge is there, but it's been
The bridge is there purely for Ali and the canal group, but obviously the canal group can go across, but there's no benefit to the public.
Of course.
So the canal park, as you've seen, with this weather, unfortunately our solar pump has decided to go on the blip. So the canal in the canal park has dried up, much to my chagrin, because obviously this year we had quite a healthy amount of amphibian activity.
Yeah.
And the frogs might have just beaten the tadpole stage and got out before the water was gone, but doubt whether the new babies would have. So a bit of a blow. So and yes, we want as many more volunteers, because unfortunately, due to health and other issues, our numbers have dwindled from about 6 to 7 regular a week. Today there was 2.
Right.
Sorry.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for your efforts. Item 28, to receive a report on social media, Councillor Brown.
Yes. Firstly, I want to apologise to the community transport project, because in this meeting last month I did say I would do a social media post for to try to get additional drivers, and I didn't. So sorry about that. I will do this month, but what I'm thinking of doing, since we've just had a discussion about wanting more volunteers for Speedwatch, for the canal group, that potentially I'll do a post on a fee for volunteers with various different things that people could volunteer for. Now I know about the community Speedwatch, and I know about the community transport project. I don't know much about the canal group, so if you can email me a little bit about what the volunteers do, lucy.brown@shrivenham.org, then I can try and include that in, or you can always just send it to the clerk email address and it will get forwarded on to me if that's
I
easy.
think there's another group called Community Transport, so this is West Vale Mobility.
Yes, West Vale is the one I'm talking about.
I just
Sorry,
think
West Vale.
I've seen another one called Community Transport.
Oh no, it's West Vale, it's the one that I'm using, yeah.
And I think that the Clark dot Shrivenham is is not
has,
in use at the
no, so
moment?
it has an out of office on it, but
Yeah.
it is being monitored.
Excellent, yeah.
So anyway, so going back to the social media, so for the month of June, which is what I'm reporting on, the majority of the posts were about the thing I'm not allowed to talk about. So were about election. As per the restrictions that we are allowed was notifying people of the election, notifying people of the two people who were up to be voted on, and I will attempt, if I have capacity, in the morning to do a further post tomorrow morning reminding people that it's the day and to take ID, because obviously you don't want to be turned away because you've forgotten to pick up your driving licence or whatever. The other post that we did in the month was for the rain and shine, and it will be the last rain or shine post that I do from the SPC Facebook page, because we have now set up a VBT Facebook page, and that is specifically so that we can publicise the events that the VBT are supporting, such as rain or shine, from the VBT one, as opposed to SPC, because it's not really SPC stuff, it's VBT. So there is a new Facebook page. I haven't done much to publicise it, so it's only got like 3 followers at the moment, and that's for discussion at the next meeting. But so just to let you know that the social media that I'm talking about in this meeting will no longer cover those kind of posts, such as CCP events and things like that, other than to particularly forward them on to get a wider audience until we can increase our followers.
Thank you very much. Item 29, any business we add to the next agenda other than the grant which we know about? Anything from Council?
Nope.
In that case, the date of the next meeting is Wednesday the 3rd of September 2025. Thank you all very much indeed. After this there will be a VBT meeting.
It was really